All right. Welcome back to the Forest Brothers podcast. It's your boy Mutsa Chris Don back in the cut, joined by my two brothers, Nkosi and Samson. What is goody? What is goody, brothers? So, listener, in this particular episode, we'll be talking about the top four race or the top five race, given all the recent changes and games that and the last few games that are coming up. So, yeah, we're just gonna be looking at form. We're gonna be like upcoming fixtures and potentially how things will end at the end of the season. Uh, we've had these conversations before, but this time around we have a new entrant in the top five race. Our favorite team, Arsenal. um, they lost their game to Bournemouth this past weekend, actually, which now leaves them at 67 points. And Man City won their game against Wolves. Now they're at 64 points. So we now have a 3 point difference between Arsenal and Man City. Newcastle drew their game actually. So they had 63 points. Chelsea won their game against Liverpool today. They had 63 points. Nottingham Forest play tomorrow. And if they win their game, they're 63 points. So, and Aston Villa is 60. So between Aston Villa and Arsenal, there's a 7 point difference. That's just basically, that's three games or two games. And if we're saying top five, Chelsea's at 63, so that's only a 4 point difference between Chelsea and Arsenal. So anyway, a lot to unpack and go through over there. So let's actually start with Arsenal because and then we can work downwards from there. So Samson, I know that right now Arsenal and Arteta were concentrating on the Champions League, of course. You guys play PSG on Wednesday. And, I was actually expecting Arteta maybe to rest a lot of the first team players, but it looks like he brought out basically the main team. And, you guys still couldn't pull out a win against Bournemouth. And I don't know, I was a little surprised by that decision. And now I'm wondering if Arteta they need to pick up the slack. And I don't know which position you wanted to finish, but that second position isn't safe anymore, right? And so I want to hear it from your perspective what you think what's going to end up looking like for Arsenal. Because I know when we were talking before this, we said that if Arsenal were to lose to PSG on Wednesday and all they have to concentrate on is the Premier League, do you think that the guys are going to be motivated to finish the season strong, or are they going to feel heartbroken from bowing out of the Champions League that it's still going to be hard for them to pick themselves up and finish the season strong and win their last remaining games? Because if you look at your Arsenal's upcoming fixtures, it's Liverpool, Newcastle, and then lastly you get Southampton. So you have two really hard games and then one really easy one. So anyway, let me throw it to you and kind of hear your thoughts about Arsenal's trajectory towards the end of the season.
Um, well, I'll start by saying the loss to Bournemouth. It's kind of, you know, Bournemouth didn't batter us. It's not like the guys, just went out there and they weren't thinking about the game and they just got destroyed. What happened was Arsenal have been very terrible at defending set pieces since Gabriel got injured. And you can see the numbers, I think even all year, even back in, when I say November, when we played West Ham at home, he went off injured. You can see the goals starting to come in from set pieces. And main reason is he's our best head of the ball defensively and offensively. Um, so there's that, and both goals came from set pieces. So I don't think that result was necessarily an indication of oh, Arsenal are gonna get whooped every game now. I think that result was more of a sense of this ongoing theme we've seen of Arsenal in the Premier League where if it's not easy, if it's not straightforward, if they have to really, really try, to win a game, then they're probably not going to do it because they've had an eye on the Champions League. Because I think even between the Real Madrid games, they drew both games. I think they were up in both games and they drew both games. And that to me is not really a sign of a lack of quality or anything, because again, if you watch those games, if you look at the stats, Arsenal's dominating those games. They're just not finishing the games off. To me, that says there's a lack of concentration. On top of, the issues with the attack that have been there all season. So yeah, I think there's a chance Arsenal doesn't finish second, probably third. Just look at the fixtures left because, again, you're thinking of the games, in recent weeks, the games between the games come before and after the Champions League. We've been dropping a lot of points. So next week we play Liverpool away from home. Liverpool themselves have not been in great form. So I see a possible draw there, or a loss. Now, after that, I think it's a little different because after that, you don't play Champions League for I think another 3 weeks. So it's like, are you just gonna like be terrible for 3 weeks? Like, I don't think Arteta would allow that. I don't think the coaching staff like would allow people to just skate for 3 weeks and be like, oh yeah, it's okay because we're in the Champions League final. Like, win or lose, I think you're gonna see Arsenal try and win games and play their best team every week. And I think you saw the first team this weekend because it's a very thin squad. It was either Trossard or Merino playing up top. Like that's still where we're at. We still have like, I think it's 7 guys, first team players who are out with long-term injuries. So it's like, yeah, you're going to see the same lineup for the most part, week in, week out. And it's really just about whether those guys are going to keep their concentration in big moments. And also, it's going to be about whether we get, a little bit of luck. Because, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm not going to make a thing out of it. But, for Evanilson's goal,
Stop it.
it did hit his elbow. It did. It hit his elbow. I'm just saying it hit his elbow. It's fine. We lost. I don't mind that we lost. It's fine. Bournemouth deserved their win, but it hit his elbow. If we get a
He
bit
was
more
getting
luck,
tackled by Odegaard.
give the pen.
So either way, it was gonna be a goal. Either way.
No, I mean, you could save the pen. But I mean, the point is, you get a bit of luck, you put in a bit more effort. I don't think you lose the rest of the games, especially not like that when you're up 1, dominating the game, and you give away 2 goals in like 7 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen every week until the end of the season.
But also, you're playing set piece merchants. Today you saw Van Dijk score his header from a set piece. Liverpool are pretty good at set pieces. Newcastle are set piece merchants. Dan Burn is up there. Isak is up there. So again, you're playing these helicopter teams that love corners. They have really tall guys. And Arsenal squad right now is not the tallest. I think when you're taller guys is Kivior and Saliba.
I mean, it's still a pretty physical team. Again, it's not really about the corner itself and defending. I think it's really just about someone taking leadership of the situation. Because that's the thing that Gabriel's really good at. Like, whenever a long ball comes, even in open play, he will head it. It doesn't matter where he is. He's going to find a way to go and head it. And he does it all the time when we're defending corners. He will find a way to go and head that ball. And he will also guard the tallest defender on the other team. And just through sheer determination, he's going to get to the ball first. I don't think the other guys attack headers in the same way. Like, Saliba, as good as he is on the ground, he doesn't really attack headers like that, and neither does Kivior. Declan Rice is probably the closest to that. But he's also like a little shorter than, most. He's like 6'2", which is still pretty big, but, just a little shorter than 6'3", 6'4". So, I mean, I don't think it's a problem, but I still think like, the way we conceded those 2 goals, I think that's more of a one-off than, at least the way it happened. Like, it just seemed like guys switched off because we're 1-0 up and it seemed like we're cruising, and guys were just like, all right, let's just think about PSG now. But yeah,
I don't know. To be honest, I do feel like you guys, your team is just too tired now. I think it's finally caught up with y'all because again, a lot of these times when you should be winning some of these games easily, you know, I've seen even in that Bournemouth game, they should have scored another goal when Raya there was some I don't know what he did. Like if he was trying to pass to somebody, then it was a missed pass, and Evan Nilsson got the ball, but he just didn't capitalize on the situation. I think he tried to lob it or something. Whereas like if he just got the ball and I think either passed someone or just shot directly, it could have been a goal. Like there were just many moments. So I'm just like, hey, I don't know what's happening with these Arsenal brothers, but
I
it's
think
it's it's, it's gonna be a tough end to the season. I'll say
we
that
should have
much.
scored a second. I mean, like Martinelli had a chance like in the first half where he had the ball in his left, and I don't even know. I don't even know what that shot was, but we're just missing. There are even points where we're not even necessarily missing, but we're just not shooting. Like guys are holding on to the ball. The goal's right there. No one's guarding you. Shoot, and no one's shooting. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I think yeah, this tired. That's probably one aspect because again, it's been basically the same lineup since like February,
Yeah.
with the occasional Merino instead of Trossard or Sterling starting games. But yeah, it's basically the same team. So yeah, definitely some fatigue. But I think either way, after the PSG tie, I think you will see something a little different from Arsenal just in how they approach the game because I think that is a factor in how they're approaching games now. Where like you see them in the first half, they're very lively. In the second half, it's like, yeah, we're not even here. We don't really care about what happens here. And they're kind of just checked out. But yeah, I think you'll see something different against Liverpool and against Newcastle for sure.
Okay. Mangoro, do you see Man City actually finishing ahead of Arsenal now, given the fact that Man City has easier opposition compared to Arsenal because they play Southampton next, then they go to Bournemouth, and then they play Fulham as their last game. And we've also seen the form that they're in. KDB is putting on the performances of his last career at Man City. Haaland is back from injury. He was on the bench. He didn't play, but he's back now. And we're seeing O'Reilly is starting to pick up as like he's been playing really well. Rico Lewis is back, so we're seeing a stronger Man City come back to life. And since they have an easier run of fixtures and they're only 3 points behind Arsenal, could you yeah? What did you think? Like, do you actually see them finishing ahead of Arsenal, or do you think they'll probably still finish third?
I would say that largely depends on what Arsenal do. Do Arsenal really care about second place or third or fourth or fifth? They don't really care because for them, their cup final is the Champions League this week. Uh, they don't really care what happens afterwards because even if they play Newcastle, uh, Liverpool and Southampton, they don't really care that much. And for City, I'm pretty sure they know that with these fixtures, like two draws and a win will be enough because the teams below them will play each other. So, and I don't even know if like Pep is actually even thinking about second place. I think the biggest thing for him is like, let's just ensure that we hit the barrier where we know that this is the cutoff point. The teams below us, which is Nottingham Forest currently, this is the maximum they can get to, which I believe is what, 72? So if we can get to that point, we know that we're safe. Because also the other thing we're not taking into consideration is that goal difference could potentially come into play at some point here. So that's potentially like, technically speaking, it's another point. So I think they should be fine with Arsenal. Like, I don't think whoever finishes second and third, I don't think they really care. Both teams care that much. For them, it's not a train smash because they've done the legwork early in the season. They have the points in hand. I mean, on the board now. It's not like these other teams that are now playing catch up and they have to play each other below them because the three teams below them all have to play each other. So one of them is going to lose out, and the fact that they play each other really doesn't affect City or Arsenal that much, in my opinion.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the goal difference, right now Man City has 24, Newcastle has 21, and Chelsea has 21. That's the goal difference. And then on points, obviously, it's Man City 64 points, Newcastle 63, Chelsea 63. So if, Chelsea or Newcastle get a draw and Man City loses, and now it depends on how many goals have been scored on both ends or whatever the case is. So yeah. I think that point about goal difference being very important, that could end up being a determining factor for probably fifth spot. Like who ends up being fifth. But since there's gonna be 5 Champions League spots next year anyways, maybe it makes things a little bit better. Like maybe it's a little deep. But I mean it's still tight because yeah, there's a the point spread, and people are not really talking about Aston Villa. Emery could still do something and try his best to finish top 5 because he's only 3 points behind Chelsea. So and Chelsea's 5th. So
Well, listen, Emery already did his Emery special when he was playing Pep 2 weeks ago. He did what he always does in a big game, which was he did not believe in his guys. He did not believe he could go toe to toe and actually beat Pep when Pep's team is depleted and Pep's team has been struggling all year. He played negative tactics and he got burnt for it. So him, nah, forget about it. He's gonna enjoy Europa League because that's where he thrives. He's a king of Europa League. That's him. And I also just want to add one thing about Man City is that against Wolves, they low-key squeaked past Wolves because Wolves did have a few opportunities. I think Wolves could have scored, and even their goal was a little fortunate. There was like some, I think there was like something happened in the box if the ball like fell to De Bruyne and then he buried it. And I don't
I mean,
think those,
this
the
guy
keeper
did
was
pass
up.
it to him.
Huh?
Doku had a great game, and he actually
Yeah.
like assisted KDB. So
Yeah, but I'm
yeah,
saying there was like some commotion in the box, and then the ball. Like, all I'm saying is it wasn't like the clean, like football that we used to from Man City. It was a little scrappy. And that was Wolves, and it was only a 1-0 win. I know they're playing Southampton next, so they'll probably spank them, but they still play. Is it Fulham?
yeah.
Last day, and what's the other team?
So City play Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham.
Yeah, so Bournemouth and Fulham. Yeah, we'll see about those because I'm not fully convinced with this Man City, especially seeing them against Wolves. I thought Wolves were able to get to Man City's box quite a number of times and actually, you know, put them under pressure. It's going to be the same with Bournemouth and Fulham. Like those are better teams than Wolves right now, and they
I
have
don't know
that
if I would
ability.
say that. Wolves was on the spin. They're about to win 7 games in a row. Wolves have been like the best team in the last few weeks, like in the Prem, I think. They've actually
Yeah.
been cooking. So I wouldn't say that because Bournemouth hadn't won a game in a long time
But the
before beating
threat they
Arsenal.
offer is what I
No,
mean.
they're definitely a threat for sure, but I wouldn't put Wolves below Bournemouth and Fulham. Like I think Wolves have actually been performing much better than these last 2 teams. So I think that could actually be a boost for Pep because Pep said he's looking at every game now until the end of the season as a final because
Yeah,
for him it's like, hey,
everything's a cup final.
every game's a cup final for the boy Pep and his team until the end of the season because it's like, hey, go out with the bang, right? So especially now with Haaland back, I'm pretty sure it gives them a lot more confidence. KDB firing on all cylinders. Well, we might see the city of last, before the end of the season. So hey, I mean, it's gonna be interesting.
We'll see. We'll see. I think the Bournemouth and Fulham games, I think those are going to be some very end-to-end games because
Yeah.
those 2 teams, what they are good at is wing play, and what Man City has struggled with all season is wing play. So we'll see. I'll be tuning into those.
Yeah, Emangoro, how do you feel about Chelsea's chances? You guys did beat Liverpool today. Do you see Chelsea's form improving? Because I know you also won the game against your opposition for in the Conference League during the week. So, Cole Palmer maybe getting his confidence back, scoring that penalty. I see. Yeah, you guys. I don't know if also again. I don't rate Liverpool. I think Liverpool have been pretty trash, and they've just it's a PGMOL title at the end of the day. But Chelsea was outplaying Liverpool all day today. I think only saw Mo Salah on the TV at like the 75th minute. Like that's when the TV actually showed Mo Salah because he was nowhere to be found today. So, and looking at your next few fixtures, Chelsea plays Newcastle, which I think that would be a tough game. Probably a draw. You play Man United. I fully expect y'all to beat Man United very easily. And then you have Nottingham Forest, which can be a difficult game, depending on which Nottingham Forest shows up that day. It could be very easy or it could be very difficult. It really, really depends. With Nottingham Forest, they're kind of a wild card. But anyway, how do you feel are Chelsea's chances of finishing top 5?
I'd say I'm still not a believer. There's certain aspects. We're playing a terrible Liverpool team today. It's facts. They were still drunk from winning the Premier League from last week. So I don't think they were that bothered about today's game. You saw the changes that Slot made. Speaking about our friends over there, I think they're from Sweden, the DJs we played the other day. They're just garbage. Like, that league is not supposed to be having football players. But when I look at our prospects, I think the next two, I wouldn't say I'm overly concerned with. I think the biggest one, and I think it takes me back to the year of, I think that back then when City versus Spurs used to be like a Champions League 4th place playoff. I think that game against Nottingham Forest, I think it's going to be the decider of that, because the Newcastle one, I don't really see much. I know that United will probably field the kids if they get through to the final in that particular game, because that following Wednesday they have the Europa League final. So I don't think on that Sunday they would play their starting 11, and also they're sitting in 15th and they say from relegation. So I don't know if they'll be doing anything of that note. So the emphasis will be on Chelsea in that particular game. I think it's more, I was reading a stat today that Chelsea have only lost 1 out of the last 9 games, but the way they've played, you'd swear they've lost more. But at the end of the day, I think I'll learn more this weekend when they play Newcastle, if they really are a contender or not, or they're a pretender, because they haven't been tested. They haven't played someone who has something to play for the last couple of weeks. The people they've played are Liverpool, Everton, and the likes. They have nothing to play for. But then now, when I want to see them against a team like Newcastle, if they get one over Newcastle, or they come back with a draw and then do something against United, then maybe I'd say they have a chance. But currently, I'd say the jury's still out, because they can turn up today and win a game and then go to Newcastle and lose 4-1. That's a possibility. So that's just pretty much it. And Maresca does his own things. But I think with having Lavia back and the rotation of the players versus what we're going to play against the DJs on Thursday, I think there's some sort of balance there, because you can be able to rest the players fully for Newcastle, who also have a full week to rest. And then next weekend you play them. And then potentially it could be, because when you think about it, for the most part, we're at a point where now it's not about performance, but just about results, and who can get the best results. Because also a result at this point, a win against a team that you're competing with for a position in the Champions League right now, it's also mentally draining. It's also mentally demoralizing for the opposition if you go and you beat them at this point in the season, because now you can have that psychological edge on we beat you, we're potentially going to be in the Champions League. Now you potentially have to look over your shoulder. So some of these games, I think it's more of a mental game now rather than actually like just playing for the sake of playing. So we could see like a lot of like one goal and then low blocks because people just want to protect what they have at this point. Some people have to go for it. Chelsea have to go for it because Nottingham Forest is behind them. Nottingham Forest have to go for it because they're sitting outside the Champions League places right now with a game in hand. Even if they do win that game in hand, they're still what, sixth? And for the better part of the season, they were sitting in what, third? So that drop off, I think, and also that fact that they haven't been to this place before, like this is their first time coming here in like years and years and years. So maybe the pressure is getting to them. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to approach it. I think they try to go down a path of trying to consolidate. And then they've lost all the games, like the Brentford one, where they lost 2-0 at home. I was very surprised that they lost that game. Like against Palace, who knows what they could do against Palace? Like, because I think psychologically, like even if the manager hasn't also like played in the Champions League, he also doesn't know how to manage this. Like he maybe wants to attack the situation, but then he then realizes that if we attack the situation, we could lose more games. So I'd say it's a balancing act on their part. They have to like understand what the best course of action is going forward, because this battle could potentially come down to goal difference, and Forest goal difference has taken a knock because they could potentially chase goals in the next coming games and then start conceding more goals because they're trying to make up the goal difference on these other teams. So to kind of summarize it for you there, Mr. Mutsa, I think with Chelsea personally, I'm not 100% sold as yet. I think the game against Newcastle will tell me, like today's game didn't say much against Liverpool. The game against Newcastle will be the one that will tell me, are they serious about Champions League? Because I believe that if they lose that one, it's potentially over. Like I think they won't be able to recover from that because they haven't been playing well, but they've been getting results. I don't know if that's enough for the rest of the season.
I don't even know if you'd feel bad about if you guys miss, because you were saying that you're in the rebuilding phase, right? Or do you actually really want to play in Champions League? Like, do you actually care? Or for you, even if you finish sixth, it is what it is.
I think the biggest thing is finishing in the Champions League helps from a financial perspective. The players you can sign, front of shirt sponsor and things like that, that does help. The money you generate, you can now sign better players. My big worry is getting to Champions League. You get to Champions League and then you go out in the group stages because you go and you sign random characters. It's because you believe that these guys work good enough to get us to the top 5, so we don't need to strengthen quite a lot. So then you go to Champions League with Nicholas Jackson as your only recognized striker, which is criminal business. Robert Sanchez has never played any European competition, even though this other one, the Conference League, hasn't even played that. So I'd say it's kind of a difficult one. I think for the most part, I'd say in my opinion, if they decide that if we get Champions League and they get a proper front of shirt sponsor and they sign probably 5 players, in my opinion, goalkeeper, I always mention the spine and a winger, potentially, like world-class experienced players, not some 15-year-old from Spain or some other guy there. Like if we sign those 5, then I could say potentially they could do well in the Champions League. Because now, look, when you look at a team like Arsenal, like for them, they stretch to the limit right now in terms of their squad because they're trying to balance Champions League and the league, and you need a squad. And for us, like, the squad is all over the place. There needs to be a cleanup first, as I've mentioned in previous episodes. So it's kind of difficult to say where exactly the team will be. If we're serious about Champions League, we can qualify for it. And then if we sign quality players, we could do well. I don't want a situation where we get Champions League and then we sign Shrewsbury Hall Part 2 and some Conor Gallagher characters, and then we got in the group stages of the Champions League. What was the whole point? Because when you go to Champions League, you want to compete. You want to go past, because now you're balancing Champions League and the league. It's not like next season in the league, all of a sudden now you have to drop off. You have to be performing in the league as well. So it'll be interesting to see. But in my opinion, I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of things that have to be looked at. Some aspects that where we need to take I'd say the game seriously. Where I can be like, okay, now we're convinced that we're back in the Champions League, because I don't want to go there and participate. Because, like, for example, I know for a fact if Nottingham Forest went there, they would just go to participate and go out and be number 24 or 32. Like, I don't want that. If I want to go to the Champions League, I want to go there and be serious and get to the knockout stages and then see, like, for the players to, like, grow and be like, okay, this is the Champions League. These are the levels we need to get to challenge on all fronts, so that they could learn more about the Champions League. I don't mind if we miss out this year. It's fine. It gives us an opportunity to grow even further. Then maybe next year we can push on in that regard, because that's what the manager's been saying. He says we were ahead of schedule. I don't know what schedule we're ahead of, but apparently we're ahead of schedule. So it'll be interesting to see, like, how all of this pans out. But in my opinion, whether we make it, whether we do or not, I really couldn't be bothered at this point, as long as this summer certain key areas of the team are addressed and we add the quality so that we can challenge on both fronts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But I mean, you know what? I really would love for Nottingham Forest to play in the Champions League. I ain't gonna lie. I think they've had a really good season. And yeah, you're right. Maybe that the pressure is getting to them, because at this point, as you're saying, 3 games left. I'm sure they're feeling extremely demoralized, maybe, given the fact that they were actually sitting in 3rd position for a very, very long time. And now it just got hot. They lost a few games, and now they're seeing themselves in 6th position, and now they're about to miss out. But I still feel like even if they finish 6th or 7th, no one has expected them to do this well. The fact that they'll even be playing either Champions League or Europa League next season is a huge, huge thing for Nottingham Forest, especially given the fact that last season, I think they finished on the second page. Like, I think they finished like around 15, 16 there. So, or 14 or wherever. But I don't think they finished in the top 10 last season. So the fact that this season around, they're either playing Champions League or Europa League is a huge milestone, I feel like. And, I hope that Nuno is holding the fort strong. But hey, if they can get into Champions League, yes, they'll be fodder. But I think, it'll be good. It'll be nice. Maybe we'll see something special from them. Maybe they'll be the wild card and they actually, like, move past certain teams. You never really know. And I think the same for Eddie Howe and Newcastle. I think they definitely deserve Champions League this season. They've played really, really well. With Isak, I think if they do get into Champions League, I don't think Isak leaves Newcastle. I think he stays. Probably signs a nice, bigger contract there. Newcastle are heading in the right direction, that's for sure. So, especially if they finish like 2nd or 3rd, that'll be a very impressive finish for them. So, I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see, like, who has the stronger mental focus, right? Like, I'll be very curious. As I was asking Samson earlier about Arteta and where his priorities lie at this point, because before he didn't have to worry too much about the Premier League. But now he does, right? Now it's like it has to be something you consider. It's like, okay, how hard are we going here? But also, my squad is thin. So maybe for him, it's just, okay, I just need to get over this hurdle. I just need to beat PSG. And if we do the final, then at least I can work on managing for the Premier League. But if we lose, then he also has to manage these guys feeling heartbroken and also staying strong to finish the Premier League strong, because Pep is going to be behind y'all, I'm sure Arsenal fans don't want to get clowned by Man City fans saying, hey, this is our worst season in a long time, but we still finished above y'all. I don't think you guys want that. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot. Samson, I'm sure you don't want City to finish ahead of you guys. So
If I just say 5-1, City fans are gonna cry all day, bro. Like, I feel like people forget how embarrassing that was, and Man City fans are constantly trying to erase people's memory of how embarrassing that was for them. And it was. And they're gonna keep talking about this stuff because that was pain, and we gave it to them. So I don't mind. I don't mind if we finish below them. I mean, I think our season is our season. Like, it's been one of trying to just hang in there and make something out of um, some really tough challenges, I would say. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? There was an interesting article that came out this week talking about just Arsenal, and I don't know if people always are at the door of Arsenal bantering them. And this week it was the idea of Chelsea winning the Conference League, Spurs United winning a trophy, the Europa League, Newcastle winning the FA Cup, City winning the FA Cup, and Liverpool winning the league, and them winning nothing, and them talking about how when is it gonna come, the trophies? Because I believe the last time Arsenal won a trophy was in 2020, and all these five teams around them are winning trophies, even though some of them we don't really count them as trophies. The fact that it's silverware and that they don't have silverware, I just find it very interesting in that people just keep on mentioning that, whereas you do. I think Arsenal fans also do have to give credit to Arteta, because what we have to remember, this is his first managerial gig, number one. Number two, he went from being Pep's Pep boy to coaching Arsenal, and where he took them from and where they are today, fine, they are the perennial bridesmaids. That's still a commendable thing. And the fact that we're expecting him to win the league, I think the league is a step above him. I think we do need to give credit to Mr. Arteta. I don't know why some of the fans out there are now calling for his head, because he hasn't won any trophy, and potentially people in 15th, the terrible twins in 15th and 16th might win a trophy this season, and he's gonna win nothing. So yeah, it's very interesting times there in the Premier League and just these European competitions.
I mean, he deserves all that smoke too. It's not like for nothing. Like, hey, listen, if Spurs can win a trophy, I'm sorry, that's very embarrassing for the boy Arteta. I just have to say, it's just, if everyone around you is also winning a trophy, come on, Arsenal, you can't even get something, But I'll start
Well,
questioning the boy Arteta for real.
Spurs and United isn't really around Arsenal. It's not.
The
That's
point is
not
to
in our
win it. The
vicinity.
point is to win silverware, my guy.
No, okay. Let me attack the argument. So I think Arteta can hold smoke for not winning domestic trophies. I think fine, because we've crashed out of them pretty regularly over the last few years. I get that. That's a valid criticism. But then at the same time, the squad hasn't really been deep enough to challenge for all four trophies year after year.
But whose fault is that?
The board.
It's not Arteta. So Arteta doesn't hold any. There's no water for Arteta beefing up his team as well.
Well, I think if Arteta had £1 billion to spend, I think he'd have spent it. I think every coach, if they had more money to spend or allowed more money to spend, they would spend it. I don't think coaches are I want 15 players, and I don't want any new ones. I just don't think that's a reasonable thing to assume. So there's that, thing squads, you can't play all competitions, fine. And then there's the thing about the Europa League and the Conference League. Well, this is where I think the banter becomes so large that it gets bigger than logic. People are so focused on bantering Arsenal that they just avoid any thinking. Because I mean, if Arteta wasn't doing as well as he is, he'd be in the Europa League, and he'd still be getting bantered. And I know this because we were in the Europa League once, and we got bantered. Now we're in the Champions League, and we're challenging for the league, and we're still getting bantered. And it's a never-ending cycle of being bantered. And it mostly just stems from we're good enough to compete, but we're not necessarily dominant in terms of massive squad, all the options available, can rotate, can play where we want. Like it's still having to like, squeeze out results and, you know, construct game plans that like enhance us and limit the opposition. So I feel like there's no respect for a guy making the most of the situation,
It's like,
but
nah,
there's
I feel
still
like,
like we're gonna shit on him because he doesn't have the trophy at the end of the season, which
my
again,
guy,
fine, but
Sangi, come on though. But it's take five. Are you still talking about thin squads? And it's been 5 years. Like you couldn't figure it out in these last 5 years.
you see, we have this conversation every time, and I don't think like how many times do people have to get it through their heads that we had Mustafi and Socrates as our starting CBs when Arteta started? Like, how do you not understand that we had to go from that to Saliba and Gabriel? We had to go from Licksteiner and Kolasinac to Miles Lewis-Skelly and Timber. We had to go from Torreira playing DM to Partey now. We had to go from whoever
But every
else was in our
team, but every
midfield.
team
Like
has to go through that.
the
Though.
team
It's
has
not like
changed year after year. Like it's not like you have to
no,
replace the first team before you even thought about the bench. So
but every team is going through that though.
yeah, but I still don't see your point. Like if he is doing that and he's improving the team's position year after year, like I don't get it. Like yes, I agree he holds smoke for domestic cups, but I mean if he's challenging for the league and that's the main reason he's not getting the domestic cups, it's like, people are basically saying win the treble or we hate you, or like be perfect or we hate you, and it's like,
My guy, one
all right,
trophy though. One trophy. Because for me, also, this season was the season where Arsenal had their best shot, right? Given the fact that Liverpool also had a thin squad, it's not like they had a big squad. Man City have fallen off. So if there was a time where Arsenal was actually supposed to win it, this is the season. And
and
now we're talking about you guys might not have been finished third or fourth. So
and what happened? We lost like 6 starters.
as other teams did too.
Did Liverpool?
Liverpool didn't have anybody. I mean, Liverpool's squad is thin, but I'm saying other teams have lost people. United had a lot of injuries. Spurs a lot of injuries.
No. But Spurs and United are not held to the same standard as Arsenal.
I think they are.
Like the people you just brought up, no one cares that you guys are 16th and 14th. Like
Nah, people care about United.
it's not
At
a
least United is
story.
held.
Like Arsenal finishing trophyless is going to be a bigger story than you guys finishing 16th or Man United finishing 14th. Like that's a fact. No one's going to care. People are going to move on.
Let me ask Mota a quick question. Let's say Arsenal crash out of the Champions League, hypothetically speaking, this week, and they don't win a trophy and they finish second or third. Or Spurs or United survive relegation, and then win the Europa League. Who has had a better season?
That's such an easy question. Obviously, the team that wins the trophy has had a better season. At the end of the day, that's what's important. What are we playing for if it's not for a trophy?
Okay, but listen, 2 weeks ago you said the club needs to be dismantled. This guy's been crying about his team for 9 months, but they've had a better season. It's like
no. But I'm saying no. But I'm saying at the end of the day, it's a better season because what's the point of playing such good football if you actually don't win anything at the end of the day? Like, what are we doing here? So for me, it's like, okay, Spurs or United have had the better season because number one, you win a trophy. Number two, you're playing Champions League. We're going to be playing with Arsenal in the Champions League next season. Plus, we have silverware. Arsenal wins the silverware. That's what I'm saying. Newcastle right now is actually having a much better season than Arsenal, even though Newcastle sit at fourth because they actually won something. So I think, generally speaking, yes, a trophy automatically means you've had a better season than other teams around you.
I mean, I think it's subjective because I think all teams go into the season. I mean, Arsenal won't have had a good season because the expectation was the league. So Arsenal won't have a good season. But what I'm saying is what people's standards are for Arsenal. And this is rival fans, because I don't know why Arsenal fans get baited into this, because rival fans will be like, Arsenal is shit. Arsenal isn't going to win anything. But if they don't win anything, they're the worst team ever. And it's like, well, according to you, we're shit. And when we tell you like, oh, we still need this and this, like, yeah, you're shit. And then like we come, we don't meet our targets because of the things we're missing. And like, yeah, you're garbage.
But
And
why,
it's
why
like,
is it that
but the
Arsenal
expectation
fans
is
don't
still
admit?
there, huh?
Why is it that Arsenal fans don't admit that they're shit? That's the problem. Because Arsenal fans always talk like, you guys, God made Arsenal Football Club the gold standard. That's what you guys believe.
No, you see, I think again, there's a difference between like what rival fans think of Arsenal and what rival fans perceive Arsenal to be, and what Arsenal is, and what Arsenal like. I think Arsenal is still one of the best teams in the league, but I'm not going to ignore context. I'm not going to tell you like, oh yeah, Bukayo Saka missing 5 months, and Gabi Jesus missing however many months, Havertz missing months. That means we should still be on top of Liverpool. Like, I that doesn't make sense. Like, I think where we are right now makes sense given how the season went. Because I mean, at the same time, when Saka went down, you were one of the first people like, oh, you guys are cooked, your season is over. But at the same time, you want to say, oh, they didn't win the league, left it. And it's like,
Of course. Because again, you were laughing at Man City when they lost, the fact that they haven't had Rodri all season. You were saying, look at Man City, their shit, look at Foden, his shit. These guys, you've been bagging on City, right? Based on the players they lost. But you want to act as if Arsenal losing players doesn't mean that they're shit. But it's like, there's a double standard here, I feel like.
it's not double standard because Arsenal was good for a very long time and then broke down. City has been shit from the jump.
Because they didn't have Rodri.
I really don't know what to tell you here.
No, but you can't dismiss
know.
Rodri. Rodri was a key person for Man City. As you're saying, Gabriel is a key member. Saka is a key member of your team. Without those people, you guys won't play as well. Same argument can be made for City, that they lost their key person. But I have not seen Arsenal fans saying, like the argument you're giving right now, you're not going to give the same argument for City, for example. That's all I'm saying. That different. There's a bit of a double standard. Maybe, I don't know. That's how it is for me.
No, I mean, because the argument now that we're discussing is no trophies, Arteta out, right? And my thing is, whenever it's Arsenal, it's either be perfect or you're garbage. Man City, it's, oh, look at Pep. He's doing the best he can. Look at Foden. Oh, our poor baby. We got to protect him. Oh my God, they might win a FA Cup. They're so perfect. Wow, amazing. And it's like, Newcastle, oh my God, first trophy, 60 years. Amazing. Like everyone gets babied. Everyone gets like this nice, cozy story. Arsenal, it's like literally win everything or we're gonna crap on you for life. So I don't, I'm not gonna pay attention to that because I don't think we're having an honest conversation when it comes to Arsenal. I think what's happened to Arsenal is we got injuries, we got sidetracked, and now we're salvaging as best as we can. I think it's still a good season based on how it went. If we had everyone fit and this is how it went, I'd be like, horrible season. As it is, it's all right. It's okay.
Okay. I mean, I guess we can leave it there. I don't know how Mangoro sees these items, but I always find it. I mean, again, I'm always going to be biased because I'm a Spurs fan. But Mangoro, as a Chelsea fan, what do you think about what Sang is talking about? How different fans treat Arsenal fans? Is it unnecessary, or do you actually feel like Arsenal deserve the kind of banter that they receive from rival fans?
In some quarters, I do believe that they deserve it because they work hard at the beginning of the season, and maybe it's just the fans and the club doesn't say this. The fans do come in and say, this is our season. Arteta must. They usually do say that quite often. So on that level, I do understand why people do banter them. But at the same time, like, I just look at like the trajectory of like where they've been and where they are today, and I'm like, it's fair enough. He's done a good job, but like, and also it's not like he's an experienced manager in terms of winning trophies. Maybe it's a different manager. Like this guy's won one FA Cup in his career. Like I don't know why we're not expecting him to be winning Premier Leagues season in and season out. And even in the seasons when he pushed City, like when City got into their stride, like he didn't have an answer. Like you can't tell me there's gonna be a time where the student is going to beat the teacher. Like Pep will always be the professor, and Arteta will always be the student. And I don't think that like Arteta has it in him. But on the banter, so going back to the banter, like it's 50-50. Like they do deserve some aspects when they do come out and say this is their year, they'll be winning it and they'll be serenading it there at the Emirates. But then also at the same time, I feel like other teams do push it a bit too far, like in terms of like Spurs. Like if Spurs or United win the Europa League and finish 16th, 17th, that is an actual disaster. It's the same thing for Chelsea. If Chelsea finish 6th and win the Conference League, that's a disaster. It's just that maybe the standards now are just so low that we now view standards like winning Bo Europa League and Bo FA Cup and what's the Carabao and Conference League as success and progress. When in actual fact, when you now take these two teams and you put them together on a field, Arsenal, Spurs, Arsenal, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, 9 out of 10 times Arsenal's winning all three of those games comfortably because they're much better. So we truly can't say that those other teams have had a better season. It's just that, think about it this way, Muta. When Arsenal is pushing a tier 1 of like competitions at the pinnacle, whereas these other teams are pushing at tier 2 and 3, and they're good enough. They're probably the best in tier 2 and 3, but they're not good enough for tier 1. That's just how I see it.
But if you can't even hack tier 1, right? Like if you still get knocked out of that tier 1, you know, it still doesn't mean much. I feel like, because for me, it's like what makes a good season? Is it how well you played, or is it what you won at the end of the season? And so that's usually my criteria. Like what actually makes a good season for a team? How you played throughout the season and the games you won, or what you actually won at the end of the season? Like the point for me is to win a trophy, at least.
We had this conversation with Ten Hag last year.
We did, and we said because of that, he had a better season than us because he actually won trophies, right? So they played poorly in the league, but their season still had something to show for it. Like, listen, we played our cup games well enough to actually win this thing that Arsenal was also competing for, Chelsea was competing for, everyone was competing for the same trophy, but we came out on top. So that also can't be ignored. It's not as if, you know, for FA Cup and for Carabao, other teams are not present. Like if Arsenal's truly the better team, they should also win FA Cup or they should win Carabao Cup, right? If we just keep it domestic.
I'd say it's also about priorities at some point. Some of these teams don't take these cups seriously. Like the first 3 rounds, most of these teams don't take them seriously. They play their B team. And the fact that my thing is, like, we can't say teams finishing in 16th and 17th and 6th have had better seasons than people being in Champions League semi-finals and being close to the final and finishing 2nd or 3rd. Though that team has had a better season than that team. I would take that over winning Conference League or Europa League or FA Cup or Carabao Cup, and I can safely say that, and finishing 15th. That is just bad. Like, that's the thing. Like, maybe just the standards. Like, the standards are just so low that you can take. Because, like, now, say for example, Spurs or United win Europa League, and then you go to Champions League next season. Where are you going to be? In the relegation zone of the Champions League. You'll be there at the bottom. And it's not like, and the saving grace that I think we've supported these two teams, that the mediocrity of the teams is just so bad. The ones in the Europa League and Conference League. I can safely sit right here today and tell you that without these new Champions League, without these new UEFA rules where the teams that get knocked out of Champions League don't go into Europa League, Spurs and United would not be where they are today.
We don't know that.
That's a fact. Motsa, I can safely tell you right now that you would not be playing Polo Klimt, or you wouldn't even be at the semi-final of the Europa League. You'd be long out.
Hey, listen, Ten Hag
And
has won
United
more
as well.
trophies.
And United would be out as well. Just facts there.
Just factually speaking, Ten Hag has won more trophies than Arteta in his time in England.
That's embarrassing.
If United fans want him back, listen, if you like it, I love it, bro. Like that's if you like what you got, Mutsa, if you're loving this, hey man, I can't yuck your yum, bro. Like that's you, that's what you enjoy. You enjoy going to see Spurs lose 19 games or 20 games in the league and then win a trophy that, you know, a second grade trophy. Like, all right, you know, if that's what you're into, by all means, brother, go and have a great time. I think my team overcoming what it's overcome and still performing, still being one of the best 4 teams in Europe, I think that's means something. So, yeah, I'm cool with that.
And to add there real quick is if, say, for example, Spurs or United were in the top 5 and they potentially won the Europa League, then I could bring the argument that, okay, maybe they've had a better season. That's where I would say. But where they languish in the Premier League and the number of defeats that Samson just reeled off there, that's a different question now. Like, if you were sitting in top 5, or let's just say top 7, then I'd be like, okay, fine. They've potentially had a better season because they were in and around European places, but they were nowhere in the league.
Hey, you know what? If participation trophies matter so much to you guys, fair and square, for me, I actually prioritize real trophies. Real trophies indicate proper, like a proper season for me. So if you guys like the participation ribbons, I'll wear. You know, if you know, oh, we played so great, I finished second in Europe. Okay, cool. We have a trophy. So you know what? Like, I mean, we haven't got it yet, but this is me saying if Spurs was to win it. So obviously, if we crash out of Europa, like I'm not gonna say we've had a good season. Again, I'm not gonna say we had a great season in the Premier League. It's been absolutely terrible. But I would rather have a terrible season and win a trophy than have a wonderful season and finish third and have a participation ribbon. That's just me. So maybe we're on different aisles of the argument, and yeah, you know, that's okay. And maybe
You know, I mean, we all have different sized cabinets, so I mean, I get it. You know, if yours is empty, you want to see at least something in there. You want to see at least one. You know, just when you look at it, you're like, "Ah, come on, I need to have one. Come, just anything. You wanna have something to look at, and I understand that. The stadium is still new, is still empty, is still you can still hear your echo as you walk around in there. So I get it. It's a little different if you have actual things in there, and you know.
I don't know, man.
You're building towards getting back to, you know, being the best of the best. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah, I think this is my personal take, but like I think these little trophies, they fool a lot of teams into believing that they're having good seasons, because you'll get to the Champions League next year and then you will realize how far behind you are from the other teams. Like, you potentially even play with some of these teams like Arsenal and you'll get battered. Like, they'll probably...
But also, I mean, they're gonna buy new players in the summer. Like, we're also not including the same Spurs that has been this season. Hopefully, will not be the same Spurs that plays in the Champions League next season. Like, there are gonna be changes in the summertime. Hope Ange leaves. You know, so I'd assume that there will be improvements at the club, given that we're playing at a higher level. So,
I agree with that, but think about the development of the Arsenal team versus where your team is now. Because once, even if you sign players, Arsenal players, they know that when we get to Champions League, top 8, we need to be in the top 8, for example. Whereas when a team like United or Spurs get to that top into Champions League next season, they're wild cards at that point. They are wild, even if they sign new players, they'll be wild cards in the Champions League next season.
My guy, okay, so you're telling me that Arsenal has been top 8 in the Champions League for the last 5 years?
No, this top 8 thing started this year, so like it's
Yeah,
pretty
so this
new.
is the first time we've been getting to this point. This is Arsenal's first
Yeah.
semi-finals in a long time in the Champions League. 20 years or something?
Technically, we've been one of the top 8 teams in Europe for the last 2 years because we're in the quarterfinals last year.
But what I'm saying is, when now you go to the Champions League, you will be exposed. Even if you sign players, you will be exposed as to like the years of development on how behind you are. Is what I'm trying to get at.
My guy, you guys mustn't forget, we're also in the Champions League final in 2019.
Okay, stop. Let's just stop there. Like we're not going anywhere at this point.
I'm just saying, you guys are acting as if we haven't progressed to the Champions League as well. Like, we've done it. We've done it. So, we can do it again. And it shouldn't be surprising.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, it's all good. So, again, you know what? We'll just see how things shake out, obviously. But, yeah, anyway, I think that's a good spot to end the podcast, you know. A lot of good debates on these things. And we'll see how things shake out in the next few weeks, and I'll be ready. I'll be ready. So, any last words there, gents, before we close?
Shout out to Kieran McKenna. He finally got Ipswich relegated. Doing a great job there at Ipswich, as I've been telling him. He's gonna get them relegated. We did donate 4 points to them. He still couldn't stay up. Pretty sad. But all in all, congratulations to Leeds and Burnley. 100 points. They're back in the Premier League next year. So good luck to them. They shouldn't embarrass themselves. And shout out to Frank Lampard, actually. I think he should stay as being like these promotion coaches. He took Coventry from 17th when he took over, I think, in November or December. They finished 5th or 6th, I think, and they're now in the playoffs. So shout out to him, man. If he takes Coventry to the Premier League, given that they lost the playoff final last year, that's a good achievement by Frank. He should probably stay at those clubs. Shouldn't think about moving to a different team, because I think there's levels to this coaching thing.
Yeah, I will say shout out to Crystal Palace because they could potentially win the FA Cup. And if they do, I think, because I think this whole who's had a great season, it's all about expectations and reality. So if Crystal Palace win it, I'm not going to be able to tell any Crystal Palace fan they had a worse season than us. Like, they definitely had a better season than us if they won that, because, mid-table finish FA Cup, that's a pretty sweet deal. So shout out Crystal Palace. I hope they make it through.
I love it. I love it. And with that, listener, we appreciate you. Please do comment, like, subscribe. Definitely want to hear your comments on some of these topics, on whether a team season is good if they win a trophy or not. I'll be curious to hear what other people think in the comments there. So let us know. But with that, we appreciate you, listener, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.